let me tell you a little bit about the Beacon of Hope show. So thank you so much for joining us this evening on the Beacon of Hope show, our special 2020 premiere night. Usually this premieres on the Hope Hub platform, but I'm actually doing it on my personal page because of the technical difficulties we have. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Faith Mwaura, and I am the Chief Creative Officer of the Hope Hub. So please go to that platform and make sure that you like and follow once we're done with this show, because there's so much hope out there and there's so many people who've come as guests and have shared hope and encouragement. Thank you for tuning in. So this show has been such a blessing to me since we went live a couple years back. And I just want to acknowledge and thank God first and foremost for dropping this vision into my spirit, and his grace and mercy, which is new every morning. And secondly, all the brave men and women who have been on the show and some yet to be, and all of you precious viewers who are present tonight and those who will watch in the future. I'm thankful for all of you that you choose to use this show as your source for hope. So just a quick disclaimer, we have 5 people watching. Please log on, say hi to our guests, to me and Dr. Penny as you log on, share as you log on. And let me just give a quick disclaimer before we delve into the topics and the subjects that we will be discussing tonight. The topics we are discussing tonight are highly sensitive. And though personally I do not purport to be a therapist or an expert on these particular subjects that we're going to discuss tonight, we are lucky to have an individual who is a licensed therapist with a doctorate in psychology, who has the background from her academic studies, her years of practice, and as she will state, the school of life itself. And she can give you responses that are well informed. However, even with that being said, if you are an individual who is going through some of these issues, suicide, depression, mental illness, you still need to find help for your own personal issues and circumstances, right? Make sure that
Yes.
you go see a counselor, a doctor, a clinician, someone who will give you that individualized treatment and therapy for whatever is ailing you. The primary purpose for this platform is to facilitate the telling of hope stories, period. I am just a vessel that's facilitating the telling of hope stories. I believe that every one of you has a story and an experience that can serve a greater purpose. And my guest and I tonight share a similar mission of sharing our stories for the benefit of others who may be going through life challenges and who need a word of hope and encouragement in their season. I started this show. Thank you for all of you who are logging in. Please share as you come on board. I started this Beacon of Hope show because oftentimes when we go through life, we look first within and then we look without, yeah, to find someone who has gone through a similar experience. But what you find is that most oftentimes, many people do not wear their labels, right? They do not look like what they've been through. So you find it sometimes extremely challenging to find hope for the situation you seek, because sometimes you're feeling like, who can I open up to? But God in this season is allowing people like Dr. Penny, who is our guest today, to be the voice and the story that you may be seeking amidst the noise and the uncertainty and the solution that life may throw your way. So let's see how many people are logging in. I think we have 4 people. Please share, share, share. I don't know where I'm going to share this so people can see it, because I want to officially start this. So Dr. Penny, if you can see it, you can go ahead and share it to your groups or to your platform, so that people can be blessed by this today. Let's see, because I want to officially start. And I'm just going to take a second. And I'm doing this because we were late tonight. So I want to make sure that I can capture as many people through my groups and associations here on Facebook before I read your bio. And all right, Betty Mina, thank you. Lois and Jerry, please tag your friends. I know you really wanted to come live. You wanted to see this, and you were saying there were people who are waiting. Tag them now, share it on your wall, because I do want to officially start the conversation. Gina Yako, good to see you, my dear. George Njoroge, Catherine Warege, Grace Souza, Shadrach Maura, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This was really, it's a message that's intended for someone because of just the opposition we've had in the last hour to go live on Facebook. It has been unbelievable, unbelievable. So I think, Dr. Penny, we can start officially. What do you think?
Yes, we should.
Okay, let's go ahead. Even with 6 people, we can start, but please go ahead and share with your network so we can get more of an audience. So today, I have the pleasure of having with me an amazing, talented, gifted woman of God who will speak to us about having hope, even in the midst of life's curveballs, pain, and uncertainty. Okay, she will speak to us about her hope journey and the beauty of finding her purpose and her calling. So let me go through her short bio, which you guys, I'm sure you will be really impressed and you'll want to add on to your curriculum vitae and your resume after this. So Reverend Dr. Penny today is a beacon of hope for broken vessels. That's what we titled this show, and she'll talk about it a little later. Reverend Dr. Penny Ruth W. Njoroge has been a counseling psychologist, psychotherapist, group therapist in mental health for over 25 years. She is a board certified therapist in substance abuse and addictions, death and grief, marriage and family, as well as crisis intervention, with many, many years of mentoring and empowering abused women and children and youth mentoring. And she received Birmingham Mayor's Hidden Heroes for mentoring. That's amazing. She is also a life coach, which I want her to tell us what is a life coach. She's a fellow of American Institute of Stress and a diplomat with American Experts in Traumatic Stress / National Center for Crisis Management. She has also received Birmingham Caregiver of the Year Award. Okay. She has also received, let's see, the Alabama Hospital Heroes Award and Kenya's Presidential Award for community service, both here in the USA and in Kenya before she came to the USA. That's amazing. Reverend Penny Njoroge is a motivational speaker and seminar workshop facilitator with a passionate message for people of all ages not to quit on their dreams because it's never too late to rise above our life challenges. She strives to inspire, to encourage, to empower, to engage and change lives, especially women, so they can rise up and play their part in life. She is internationally traveled and experienced, and I would have to say renowned, renowned. So, Reverend Dr. Penny W. Njoroge, I'm going to be quiet and ask you my first question. But first, thank you so much for answering the call to be a beacon of hope through your story. You have an amazing bio that reflects the diversity of your education and career experiences. But I also know that for a fact, many of us do not share online our, more than just our paper credentials, right? Which are only a facet of who we are. So for the benefit of those who are meeting you for the first time here on my personal profile, and we'll see you on the Hope Hub, please tell us a little bit about yourself by way of introduction so that we can get a glimpse of who you are.
First of all, I want to say thank you very much for those who are bold enough to wait for us as we struggled with the technical issues that, we experienced. But you know what? My story, and I know the story of faith, is that we don't quit easily. Wherever something good is going to happen, you will find obstacles. And I pray that somebody somewhere who dared to wait until now we are connected, will get something that you can say it was well worth waiting. Tonight, I want to thank God because bad things happen in your life, and we want to look back and say that I didn't want what happened in my life. I am a student of the school of life,
Yes,
first and foremost. Yes, I have those degrees. Let me start by saying I'm a mother of six, three sons and three daughters, four biologically and two by the marriage of my sons. And I want to say here before I forget that I have daughters, two daughters who came into my family by marriage that I cherish, Mary and Stella.
oh wow,
I honor them because we know the story of mothers and daughters-in-law, but I know that God can work a miracle. I prayed for daughters, not daughters-in-law, and God gave me Stella and Mary, and I honor them for that. I am proud of them. I have my own four children. I am blessed beyond measure. And out of that, I have five grandchildren who are the jewels in my life, priceless gifts. Why do I say this? I'm bragging because I wasn't supposed to be alive today to brag about them. Because somewhere along the line, you'll find out that I am not who I look like. I am a very, very broken vessel originally. Starting off as a girl, growing up at the time when girls were not supposed to go to school but to be educated, to get married and raise families. So that's my story. I'll just give another, just a nutshell of that and say that, yeah, I didn't go to school until I was 11. I know somebody somewhere is listening and you're thinking that you started off in a very rough way, but wherever you started, there is hope. Even after the delays in life, I went to school at 11. We were banished out of our ancestral home. My father was disowned and kicked out of the family because Penny had decided, had yearned to go to school. I pestered them until they couldn't take it. And so that is how I ended up as a slum child. And I'm proud of being a slum child because I know there are slum children today, and there are other people who are starting very rough today and wondering, shall I ever make it to the top? I've not made it to the top, but I'm not where I started in the slums of Nairobi.
wow,
So if you are there and you're thinking that you're in the slums or you're in the Gishagi and wherever else you are, even in this land where we are in America, we have the ghettos, we have all kinds of places, wherever you are, that is not your destination. If I don't say anything else today, let me tell you, whatever your life is like today, that is near not the end of you. It is a stepping stone into your future. So that is who I am. Got into the corporate world after high school. I went to Alliance High School, Kikuyu, for my high school 4 years. Wanted to go to college like everybody else, but I couldn't. The first of 10, I had to stop at high school and start educating my siblings, for which I am thankful because later on, God would give me a chance to go to school at the age of 56 after I got married, had my own children, went through hell and back. Domestic violence, abuse of every kind, got to a point where I want to give a face to depression because I suffered it for 25 years out of the domestic violence and all the other things that were going on. And like everybody else, those of you who are hearing this and thinking that she's washing her dirty linen in public, that's not what I'm talking.
no,
I'm not here to wash my dirty linen. I'm not proud about it. But I choose to do this because the devil is holding somebody a ransom tonight. He's telling you you're good for nothing. He's using whoever is around you to abuse you, to belittle you, and tell you you can never rise above where you are. You can never rise above the ashes. There is a bird here in America called the phoenix. You will rise like a phoenix and go above it, but you have to make a choice. I am down, but not out. Amen. And I want to say that, yeah, those things were happening. I got so depressed and everything, and I wanted to commit suicide twice. But there is a God. Whoever you are, if you're going through stuff today and you're thinking that your life has come to an end and you're going through abuse, people are talking, you're being belittled, you're being laughed about, there is a God who is watching over you. And I'm not here to preach. I am a preacher, yes, I am. But I don't bring religion, but I will not hide from saying that I speak about a God who cares for every one of us with their mistakes, with their failures. That's why I'm not ashamed to say that I am who I am today because there was a God who was watching over me and my family and my children when all the storms were going on. And there is that God. Who do you call him? Do you call him the higher power? You better have that higher power somewhere. For
Right.
me, it is a God. He is God. I hope he is God for you. If you don't call him God, I pray that you have a higher power somewhere, a hiding place where you can run, because if you are not hurting today, I promise you, somewhere between now and your grave, there'll be a day where you want, where do I run from here? You will need somebody to talk to when your friends walk away. You will need somebody to talk to when your children, the ones you are dying for, are problematic. You will need somebody to talk to cry to. When you bring up a child and they are not who you thought they would be,
Yeah.
you teach them. Eventually, they're on drugs, and we are laughing. Dr. Penny's children, of all the people on drugs, in alcohol and everything, they are not exempted. I am the preacher, they are not.
Right.
And I know what I want. And I'm not saying that is who my children are, but I'm saying this because sometimes we deny these things, but they can happen to anybody. We hear people talk about the preacher's kid. I know my children have been called that and beyond. But I am using me to tell you, whoever you are there, that the problems you are going through should not be defining you. They don't define you. That is not who you are. You are going through these challenges. You have a failed marriage. Mine ended after 30 years of waiting. I fought it. I prayed. I preached. I counseled other people, and their marriages survived, but mine was destined for a different place. And so you are not alone. So that is who I am. I went into the corporate world and I worked, and along the way, there was a seed of one day, there was a desire for education that refused to die. And I'll elaborate on that as we go on. But yes, that is me from the beginning, growing up very poor in the slums and everything, struggling like everybody else, getting married, going through domestic violence, having children, raising them like any other mother, struggling. But I want to say I am alive today, not because of me, but despite of me, despite of all the things I went through. And you are there listening and thinking your world has come to an end. It is not over until God says it is. It is not.
Amen. What an introduction. I had spoken to Dr. Penny and I was saying when I first learned about her was from an interview that she did on the Prudential's show with George Bogwa. And when I listened to the show, when she did her introduction, she did her whole life. And so I said, after you do your intro, what am I going to ask you? And so I think what I'll ask you is exactly what we spoke about last night. The reason that I have this show is I ask people, what are you hope for? What exactly is your impact? What do you want your impact to be on the world? And who do you see yourself as hope for? And that's the main question, period. So, and maybe to help you out, you talked about education, for example. You said, at the age of 11, that's because of your persistence and constant complaining that even though you are a girl, you wanted to go back to school, you ended up being chased away from your ancestry home. So basically, your grandfather was the patriarch.
Yes.
And so he ended up saying you, your father, and your siblings were no longer welcome, right? So
Yes.
talk to us about this love for education and this idea about the pursuit of lifelong education and why that's important.
It is important, and I'll use this moment to say that each one of us should have a dream.
Yeah.
Actually, the Bible says, my people perish for lack of a vision, your dream, your desire in life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to work in life just following everybody and doing what everybody else is doing, you're going to be a mechanic, you're going to be a cook, you're going to be anything. And you'll end up living other people's dreams. But what, at the end of the day, what is your legacy? What do you want to become? What, because we are created not just to come and eat and then walk out of this life. We are created to make a difference.
Right.
What are your giftings? What do you want to change in other? What part do you want to play? Because the Bible says that God knows the end from the very beginning, but we only know the beginning. We don't know the end.
Yeah.
Neither do we know how long I have. And so I need, from a very early age, and I thank God because your generation, you are picking out the talents in your children. I think we did it haphazardly. We
Mm,
would, do what the community was doing. Girls were secretaries, boys were these, girls were teachers, girls were going to be married, but we did not dig into their lives. And I want us to start by saying that let us dig into the lives of our children, our families, your
right.
siblings, help them identify who they are. And for some reason or another, I knew I wanted education just like everybody else. And I found out at a very early age when my grandfather said that girls in his family were not going to go to school.
Mm,
He did not want them to become prostitutes in schools. That's the best he knew. I was angry with him for years, but later on, today I wish my grandfather would be alive to see who I am
yes.
against all odds, to see who my sisters have become, to
Mm-hmm.
see who girls of my generation ended up becoming, those who dared. And
Yeah.
so again, I will say the word, you dare dream,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't, nobody's going to dream for you. If
Yeah.
anything, if you're just wishfully thinking, I want to be this, and not very determined about it, your dreams are going to be watered down. Your
Mm-hmm.
dreams are going to be pushed at the back of the cart. So it is up to you to know what you wanted. And for me, I wanted education. And so I was given all kinds of reasons. And my father gave me a warning that it will cost us everything. But and again, God be with all of us, because when you are desiring this, there is a cost. I'll say you need to be ready to pay a cost.
Mm-hmm.
Want it with a passion so that nobody can stop you.
Wow.
At a young age or an old, even those of us, the age where we are in, advancement is lifelong. It's never too late to go to school, because not only would I go to class one late, but I would also end up going to college very late at
Yeah.
the age of 56, because I had a passion. I had a passion to keep on advancing myself. Along the way, there would be obstacles. I would be told there would be no money, but there was money to do a lot of other things, but not my education, because it was not a priority for other people. So
So
it
do you
was not a
think,
priority for other people. So it has to be a priority for you, for you to be able to fight for your dream, knowing that not everybody understands. After all, they don't even know what you are equipped for.
yeah,
Your mother doesn't, your father doesn't, but God knows. He says in the book of Jeremiah, he knew you before you were born, and he knows what he has in store for you. Do you know yourself? What do you want to become, or do you just want to become what people say you are?
yeah. One of the questions I had for you yesterday, and I'm trying to refine it now as we go because I kind of threw out my questions, is because you started school late at the age of 11 and you saw your ability, your smarts, because basically I was talking to you and I was saying you went to Alliance and the Kenya High School. Those are the two schools where it's like if you go to those schools, we know for sure you are smart. You're very, very highly intelligent. And so you started school at 11, you jumped all these grades, right? Because obviously I know you skipped some grades, and then you still made it to Alliance. And then later on, you talked to me about how you had to defer your dreams to go back to school. Did you know that it was going to be possible for you to still go back to school irrespective of your age, because you had already seen your abilities at an earlier age, that you were well equipped, or had the smarts for you to go back to school or to navigate education?
I did, and when I went to school, one of the reasons my father would even dare tell his father that I'm going to take Penny to school is because I made a covenant with my father. You will never regret it. I will make sure that whatever you lose, God will bless you with it. One way or another, I made promises. I had no clue how
Yeah.
they would come into being, but I knew what I wanted, and that's what I'm saying. If you want something, whatever it is it a business? Is it
Mhm.
raising a family? Is it getting educated? Is it advancing in your career or in your home? You must want it. And I always tell my patients there when they come to me after drugs and after all kinds of things, I tell them, if you want to be healed, I left work in a psychiatric unit after working there for 8 years. And I always told our clients, if you want healing, you must want it with a passion so that when temptation comes your way, you'll be able to say, No, I know what I want and I know where I'm going. I
Mm-hmm.
knew I wanted education. And so because of the promise I had made to my father,
Yeah.
I didn't go to school to play. Other people would be playing or be, delving into books because I knew I had to catch up. Again, there was a shame on me because here I am going to school with my younger brothers and going to school with the, younger boys and girls in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I had to prove myself. So it's not that I was just automatically intelligent. And I thank God for that. It's a gift and it is in so many of us.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it depends. You have that gift. Are you working on it? Do you nurture your gifts?
Yeah.
And I knew I had to keep a promise to my father, so I worked hard. And I know other people did, so I'm not bragging that it was just because of that, but by God's grace,
Mm-hmm.
I would end up being passed from class this to class that because I was catching up too fast. Remember, I'm schooling with younger boys and girls, so I had an advantage over them.
Yeah.
And so that is how I caught up, but I still did not catch up. I would finish high school at 20. Yes, I was still lagging behind,
Yes.
but I was determined. Had I had a chance of continuing, if I wasn't leaving school to educate my siblings, I would have gone to college. I had qualified, but life happens. And it is happening even today. There are many people who are facing these obstacles today, like I did.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge is, are you giving it up or are you putting it on hold and saying it may not be today, but someday, somewhere?
Yeah.
And the way I did it was I got into the corporate work. I started working at National Christian Council of Kenya into banks and everything. But there are seminars that are given at work. Believe you me, every seminar I would come across every year in my working life. I have done a seminar somewhere. It was in me that I needed to advance myself. So that is how I would end up catching up. I never gave up on my education, even though I never went to college then. And I think it was the thread that refused to die. And there are threads in each one of us. What are you holding on to that you are refusing for people to kill?
Mm-hmm.
People will want to kill your dreams so that you can go under them. But it is your choice to
Wow.
keep on running even when people are pulling you down. And are you swimming as an example? When you're swimming, you swim against the current. You push water behind you. Along the way, along the journey of life, you are going to have to push some friends out of your life. Those who are pulling you behind, let them go. There may be family members who are pulling you down because they are scared of who you are becoming. By all means, I want you to, I pray that we will honor God and not destroy anybody along the way. Step on people, but don't destroy them because a day will come when you will need them again. So it was a matter of persisting, desiring it so passionately that I wanted to grow. And I also knew that I wanted to be an example for my younger siblings
Yeah.
and other people, because eventually my uncles and our neighbors would see the reason why girls should go to school. So I got another kind of pressure. You started it, keep it going. You become a trailblazer,
Yeah.
be prepared to keep on blazing because now it got to a point where you become a role model,
Yeah.
unaware of it. People are looking, and even today, nobody is without somebody looking. We are all role models. And I want to encourage you that as low as you feel, remember somebody is looking at you. They are watching you, marking every word you say.
Yeah.
See, looking at everything you do. Can they see something? Can they see something in you that will build them? Somebody is crying. I said I don't share my story because I'm proud of it. Back to my depression. The reason I became who I became today is because during those years, sharing your story was washing your dirty linen. And I come from Kikuyu, where we were told you don't share your family matters with anybody. So I didn't, almost to the point of killing myself because I got overloaded. I withdrew. I became depressed. I wasn't talking. I wasn't eating, but it was wearing me out.
Yeah.
Find somebody to talk to. So I went into this career afterwards in life. Later, much later in life when I got into college. Because when I was going through my own situation, I didn't have anybody to talk to. So you ask me, who do I want to be a hope for? I want to be a hope for that person who is where I was. Can I talk to them? Can I encourage them? Can they look at me and say, if Dr. Penny made it, I will make it?
Mm-hmm.
If she was able to raise her children, I will raise mine. After years of divorce, there is hope after divorce, because I went through divorce after 30 years of marriage. You are there. You've been there for 5 years, for 20 years. Today I spoke to somebody who was crying up, gone through it, and this is a hard place to be. Separation, and it is leading to divorce. Whether it is a man or a woman, it's a tough place to be.
Yes,
And
it
you
is.
have to know yourself and determine, this does not define who I am. Have I made mistakes? Many mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Have I lost? I have lost. Have I grieved? I have grieved. But I know at the end of the day, there is something there. It's not over.
Absolutely not. So can you help do me a favor and reduce your volume on your phone,
Okay.
because I'm getting feedback.
Okay.
And just to follow up, I know there are people who are typing comments and they're saying they really love this. Lois and Jerry, one of the things you said is, I know how that feels like to put some of your dreams on hold for family responsibilities. Yesterday, when I was speaking to Dr. Penny, she was telling me how she had to defer some dreams or put them on hold, not completely let them go, because she's firstborn in a family of 10. And
Yes.
so when she got married, even though she may have wanted to go back to school, she had that responsibility to take care of her siblings and to educate her siblings, right?
Yes.
And then at the same time, when she came to the United States, she now had children. And so her first priority was to her children. And so she had to now say, okay, I want to go back to school, but I have to forego this for that. So it's all about prioritizing. And I think that's what she's trying to say, is that sometimes we feel, I'm deferring my dreams. Nobody cares about me. I have to do this. Will this ever end? But no matter what, she still knew that at some point she would still go back and do what it is that she intended. And that's with everything. We all have wants, we all have needs, but sometimes you have to get two jobs because you have to, you have more bills, you have a child in college. And what I like about Dr. Penny is she doesn't sugarcoat. She says, I basically, from listening to her, she's not someone who lives a mediocre lifestyle. She's not someone who is sitting on the couch. She's someone who pulls her life up with her bootstraps up, and is like, I'm willing to do the work. I know that in order for me to get what it is that I want, I have to put in the work. you know and a lot of us, especially when you talk to people who have achieved, they don't tell you the grit, they don't tell you the early mornings, they don't tell you all the work that they had to put in order for them to get that psychology degree. All you see is their graduation. But what she's telling you, in so many words, and she'll keep saying it, you have to work to get what it is you want in life. Life is not a bed of roses.
No, it is not.
It is not. And then the
I
second
wish it
lesson that
was.
I've got from you just in this first part of this is the importance of your circle. you know Even for your father, being a male in a very male society, I know there's a word for that. He was able to sit with you and reason as a girl, and for you to have that covenant with him and to make that agreement. And so that's someone who was supportive of your dreams, and so that's someone you can say in your life. And also your mom, you talked about your mom as well, being very supportive to you. And I remember I had this Beacon of Hope show with this lady, Crystal Thomas, and she said exactly what you said in terms of people in your circle, that stuck people who are stagnated, people who are stuck, they love stuck people.
Yes.
So they want you to be stuck with them. Let's all just sit down and just
Yeah.
talk about how bad life is and how we can't make it and all of that, because misery loves company. And so you have to make a very clear distinction of who you want in your life and who you can't have in your life, and make sure that you have those people around you that are dreaming and aspiring and wanting to go higher. And those are the people who you choose to flock with, not those people who call you only when you have a problem so that they can now commiserate with you with the problem and go and tell other people about your problems. So your circle is key, and your dreams are valid no matter how much you defer them. Just keep going. And those are the lessons that, in a nutshell, that's what we've discussed so far. That no matter what, your education, age is not a factor. just keep going. You can sign up whenever. It doesn't, 56 is not too late, 73 is not too late. You were talking to me about how you want to do visiting professor. I was saying people are doing postdocs. She's 73 years old and she's still a student and still learning and getting credentials. What is your excuse? Right?
Yeah. And especially when now as a grandmother, not only are my children my peers, but my grandchildren are also there looking. I got a shock when one of my granddaughters, where the first time she was able to Google people, she Googled her grandmother.
Oh,
And when she came and told me what had happened, that was a big eye opener, because it was either she found everything that grandma had done, or she found out names about the kind of things I was doing on the internet. I was an open book. So
yeah,
let's be careful how we are living our daily lives, because I said people are watching. Some of the people who are watching you will never come and tell you.
yeah.
But they are living, they are finding their dreams because they hear you talk about yours. And again, back to sharing our stories. The Bible actually tells us you will tell your stories to your families, to your children, because that is how we encourage one another. That is how we motivate one another. And again, when we do not share that, I can come here and look like a well-known doctor and everything. But the truth is, I am a broken vessel in the making. I am still processing.
Yes.
But when I come and teach you that this is all that I am, I am depriving you the encouragement. I'm depriving you I can identify with you, and that is why what people are missing. My children are grown, but who tells you when they were teenagers they were always perfect? I've gone through it all with like every other mother.
Yeah.
But today people will look at them and think, Dr. Penny, you are lucky, your children this, your grandchildren this. The truth is they've gone through the grind just like any other. But we talk about you. We wait until you see a mother failing or a father failing, and you start blaming them. You start calling them names instead of telling them, wait a minute,
Yeah.
it's going to be okay. Mine were there when they were that age. I went through the same thing. How about your marriage? I'll come here and never talk about my divorce. Am I happy about it? I wish it never happened, but it did happen. Can I be able to share with you, Faith?
Yeah.
This is what ate my marriage. This is where I failed. Please don't step on this stone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that is why I say, don't just write somebody out because they are divorced. You could learn something from them
For
to save
sure.
your own marriage. Don't write off somebody whose children are doing drugs. Listen to them. They can tell you, this is where my child failed. Don't allow your child to go through this. This is where my alcoholic brother this is what he did. Watch out on yours. But we pretend, we project just a successful picture.
Yeah.
It's not, we are not always, none of us is perfect. I have failed. I have made big mistakes, but I use mine as a speaker, as a life coach. This is where I made a mistake. Don't do like I did. That way my mistakes become a beacon of hope for somebody.
Yeah.
But we pretend, when you have a good marriage going and another one is struggling there, you don't even bother to tell them, I don't know how to help you, but I stand with you. I'll be praying for you. I'm not blaming you. These things happen to the best and the worst.
Yeah.
But we are a society that is making other people feel less than good because all we share, like you said, is my success.
Yeah.
What about the doubles and the triples I did when I was going through school?
Yeah.
My son has just finished college. I want to go back to school. I'm a foreigner. I don't have a scholarship. I'm having to work during the daytime as a hospital chaplain, and then during the night as a CNA, as a cleaner on the weekend and everything. But today, I'm not doing those things. That is why it is good to advance yourself.
Yes.
If you ask me to do those things today at my age and with my health, by the way, I've just put a sling off yesterday. Thank God. I had surgery. Today is my first day without a sling after shoulder surgery.
Wow.
God can heal
Thank God
anything.
for healing.
God is a healing God. God is a loving God. I've not been driving. I've not been doing a lot of work. But the children I live with, the ones I have loved when I was able to love, have been loving on me. What are you doing with the people around you? I'll ask that again before I forget. Do unto other people the way you want them to treat you. When somebody is failing, remember tomorrow you may be the failure. If a
Yeah.
parent is suffering today with their children for reasons of nothing they have done, but it is happening, please stop laughing. Our children are committing suicide left, right, center. And a family is grieving a child who has committed suicide. I know that for a fact because my cousin, my sister, my spiritual daughter had a daughter commit suicide.
Oh
I
no.
know it firsthand. But what happened? People started finding reasons. Oh, she did this. Oh, the mother this. Oh, the father this. Who are you breaking today? I came here to encourage somebody who is broken. But who are you breaking
Who are
tonight?
you breaking?
Who are you breaking? Instead of becoming a beacon of hope. Today it is them, tomorrow it is you. Today it is their daughter and their son. You have a child, you have no idea what they are doing behind you. Let's love on each other. Let's encourage one another. Let us be a beacon. I like what you're doing, Faith, encouraging us to stand for other people. The world would be a better place if we did to other people the way I want to be treated.
For sure.
Yeah.
You have, let me switch to mental health.
Yes.
Only because you mentioned you struggled with suicidal issues, and you also talked about how depression, you're a beacon of hope for depression, and that's really what you want to focus on for today. So can you talk to us about what was the reason, maybe what was that, what are those things, because you said it was twice, that caused you to get to that point where you decided to take your life and you ended up in the hospital? Are you willing to share what exactly led to that?
I'm willing, and again, I don't do it because I'm proud, but I know somebody somewhere is where they are sitting on the chair where that I was sitting in. They were going through the same. You are going through the same abuse I went through. Did I choose it? I would never wish it on anybody, and it happens. It may not be your fault, but remember, in a marriage, it takes two people to tango. It takes two people to want to agree and to work out things. It may be that you are living with the spouse, either as a husband or a wife, who is not willing to work it out with you. And so you are struggling. There is control issue, financial abuse, abuse of every kind, emotional, psychological abuse. Here I am, an Alliance Girls material. But somebody wants to put me in their pocket and control me, use me and bottle me up when they want. And so that depressed me. You are controlled. You want to advance your career. And let me say this to either our brothers, our sons, and our husbands. If you do not equip your wife, you are hurting yourself. If you do not equip your daughters, you are hurting yourself because what? Let's talk about this. I'm a mother of daughters and sons. I don't want somebody abusing my son.
No.
Neither do I want my daughters being abused. I went through it and I know it hard. So what do? We need to let's get out there. My depression resulted from domestic abuse and all kinds of things were going on. The secrecy, the stigma, the shame that goes with when you're not coping, you're blaming yourself. And yet, the few people who know you're going through stuff are telling you, you are not the only person who has troubles. So and so is having trouble. So pull yourself up and keep going. I'm not that person.
Yeah.
And I'm not dealing with those problems. My problems are very unique to me. My coping skills are very different than yours. I'm not a weakling you think I am. That sister of yours or that brother of yours is not a weakling. They are fighting it out, but you don't know their circumstances. So instead of blaming them and telling them to pull themselves up, please ask a question. Help me understand what's going on. Can I help?
Yeah.
Can I pray with you? Love on them because sometimes they don't even want your money. We had all the money we needed, but I was breaking. I couldn't tell anybody because to everybody else, we were a rich family. I had new cars and I had this and I had that, but I was covering it up. There comes again the covering up, the hiding, the shame. Why was I covering? Because society expected me to behave in a certain way. Nobody would believe that in all the world and everything, I was hurting. They saw this glamour girl. They saw this well-dressed woman, and they are there around us today. They are career women, career men who are hurting and broken. But because they know, looking at you, Faith, you are the epitome of a beautiful woman. Do I really know what you're going through? I don't know.
No.
But I choose to judge you. I choose to look at you from the outside
Mhm.
without caring to. Sometimes Faith is she's beautiful, she's talented, but every now and again she goes quiet. Do you bother to ask them what's going on? She's not coming to church. Instead of asking why she's not coming to church, or they got money, she doesn't need to come to church anymore. Hidden, unspoken problems are there, and they are there. That is why we are having, battered women killing themselves or killing others, or battered men killing themselves or killing families.
Yeah.
Please let us be proactive. We
Yeah.
have too many suicides around us. We have too many alcoholics. We have too many addicts around us.
Yeah.
Instead of judging them and blaming them, please let us ask questions.
Yeah.
What has led you to where you are today? You never drank, you never did drugs, you are never an angry person, you never laugh. We
Yeah.
used to laugh. What's going on? Ask questions. Look out for other people. Don't just wait for them to come and tell you, because I would have died without ever telling anybody what I was going through.
Yeah.
And even after I went through divorce, Faith, if you had told me I would be a speaker today 20 years ago, I would have told you have the wrong girl.
Wow.
I never talked about it.
Mhm.
My family is still in shock that I do this. But I learned that God gave me a second chance,
Mhm.
to give another chance to somebody else, to encourage somebody else, to help somebody. Out of the valleys I lived in with no help, I wanted to become a helper. I wanted to become a motivation for somebody and tell them, the devil is a liar. You can live again even after divorce. The devil is a liar. Your children are on drugs. They can come out of that, because I know they do.
Yeah.
I'm a drug therapist. I know people recover. I have seen people recover from alcoholism. Stop writing people off. Give them a chance. I was given a chance by God. That's why I speak.
Wow, that's powerful. So I have to go back because you keep saying 30 years of marriage. 30 years of marriage. That is a long time. So was the abuse persistent during the whole entire 30 years, or was it at the tail end? What was your breaking point? Because, I'm hearing this, so it sounds like the suicide attempts were as a result, or the impetus for the suicidal attempts were something to do with your marriage, the domestic abuse, possibly. But I'm just wondering, was that something that happened towards the end? What got to you to where you got to that breaking point twice?
That's a very sensitive, and I hope I can contain my emotions when I talk about this, because it was a matter of denial right from the word go.
Okay.
I saw red flags that I ignored. My father and my mother told me something is not right here. But that naive girl, this is my first love. I want to be loved. I want to get to advance.
Yeah.
And here is somebody who is promising you gold and silver.
Hmm.
There is somebody today who is listening to me and is going through the same thing, or your daughter is going through the same thing, or your son is going through the same thing, because it is both ways. And so you see red flags and you ignore, and so
Hmm.
you get into that marriage and you are totally controlled financially. That was my doing,
Okay.
because you get into that hole that even when the abuse is going on,
Hmm.
you have no way out. And we are asking many women nowadays, what are you waiting for? I want to encourage you to think, this woman knows she needs to go, but she has no scent. Already she has children. You are telling her to leave yesterday. Where is she taking those children? And I'm not saying they stay. What I'm saying is the society needs to be ready to help these people. Instead of blaming them and asking them, what are you waiting for? Find out, do they have a way out? Can you encourage them? And remember, when somebody is going through domestic violence, your mind is not working. There is also the abusers normally instill a lot of fear in you. You are told you are useless, you can never survive without me, you don't have this. And guess what? Even after all the 30 years of working and amassing the wealth, I walked out empty-handed. But it took to getting to a point when I realized that if this abuse is going on and I keep on trying my life, the last time I did, that's when I realized this is going to cost me. If I try it again, I'll do it.
You died.
And so I had to take the risk of believing if he had died and I had nothing, I would still survive. But again, it takes God for you to say, I remember very clearly that that day I made up my mind. I felt like I had my 4 children on my shoulders. I was standing on a cliff and I'm pleading with God, God, don't let me go down this cliff. I wanted to die alone, but never with my children. You have to help me. There are things I'm not going to say here, but if you see somebody going through them, please reach out to them and don't ask them why they're waiting. They have been brought into nothingness, emotionally, psychologically, financially. Even in the US, we have people who are going through that. Thank God there are shelters. We didn't have any shelters back home, no support system for you. If people know what you're going through, they are the ones who are undermining you and reporting you. And our system out there has no protection for women, and even for men today. So I'm asking our society, wake up. Let us stop contributing money to bury people who have been killed by spouses or they have killed themselves because we could have done it when they were alive. Talk to somebody, give them something, give them food, help them take care of their children. Don't wait until they are gone, and that is when we donate $20,000, $20 or $30,000 to bury them. Give them when they are still alive so that they can enjoy it.
We have a couple of questions. I'm
Okay.
still getting feedback. Is it your phone? The volume is on?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So Lillian, let me see who had asked about this. Lillian is asking, do you have
Sorry, I
close
think I
friends?
went down completely. Repeat the question again.
Did you have close friends during your time of need? Were they helpful or they deserted you? And along the same lines, someone else is asking, uh, who supported you when you finally decided to walk away? And then Lois is asking, how did you cope with counting your loss for 30 good years?
Counting my loss for 30 years was a very painful thing, and I'll be honest. Even today, there are moments when things are tough for me and my children. There are times when I look back and say that I'm not where I am because I didn't work hard.
Yeah.
I'm not where I am because I did not plan, but bad things happened.
Yes.
But I had to get to a point of saying, you know what, it happened. It is water under the drain. I can't do anything about it. Learn to let go. Let your past, and even the Bible tells us in Isaiah 43, forget the past. Look forward because God is doing something new. And I had to get that point of believing that God is doing something new in my life, in the life of my children, and be willing to start again. There will come a time either you have lost somebody to death, or you have lost a job, you've lost a house, your children have gone haywire, and you cannot rectify that. Find a way of grouping up yourself, picking up yourself. You talked about friends. Sometimes you have friends who can walk with you. Sift through your friends, make a choice of who is working with you, because there are friends who are going to break you when you don't need any more breaking. There are those who are going to talk about you when you need them to be helping you. And it was tough because you know very well that divorce in Africa is another story. You get written off like yesterday, even before you are divorced. People start talking about you and labeling you for so many reasons. So it's a very lonely walk, and I know it is even today. And the idea of losing a spouse you have lived with, whether they were abusing you or not, 30 years is your lifetime, especially because those were my prime years. The thought of starting afresh, I never got to that.
Yeah.
But it was hard. My parents were there for me. My siblings, oh my goodness, my siblings and my children.
Wow.
I have no word for my children in particular, because even after they knew the mess that I had been in, remember, I'm also covering because I don't want them to know the whole truth. But I did not realize, by the way, remember that when you're going through these things, watch out. Your children are equally abused, they are equally traumatized. So think about it. That was one thing I did not think about. I thought about myself. I thought they were okay because they were being provided for. But now I know better than that. I ask anybody who is raising children in these circumstances, remember to look at your children, because they may also be going through depression. That is why some of them are going to drugs, others are going to all kinds of things. That is why we are having, young men and women who are saying, I don't ever want to get married, because they saw what the opposite sex did. So
Yes,
we're
yes.
asking ourselves these questions, but we all need to go back to the drawing board and talk about these things with our children. Avail ourselves. I learned to keep in touch with my children, to care, to stay connected. While all that was going on, the
Mhm.
best thing that God gave me is a relationship with my children. Was it easy? It was not.
Wow, wow. So I'm going to this was okay, so this came up yesterday with me and Dr. Penny. And what I was telling her is I went back and I rewatched an interview that she did. And in the interview, she was talking about depression, about suicide, and then synonymously, like almost in the same sentence, talking about mental illness. And so she kept saying, this is mental illness. And, I personally, I was sharing with her that I personally have gone through a season of my life where I was suicidal. Yes, I don't look like it. I don't look like what I've been through, but I've been there and I've been through depression. And so I kept, when I was listening, I was like, does that mean I was mentally ill because I was suicidal, because I was depressed and I didn't want to go to work and I didn't want, because I wasn't diagnosed, formally in terms of depression. I didn't have that clinical, I didn't go to a therapist or anything, but I was suicidal. So that's something I told her. I said, I need you to kind of define it for us because, I'm sure people have had thoughts. Sometimes you have those attacks, those thoughts where you're saying, I'm better. Maybe it's better if I'm not in this world anymore. You know, define for us mental illness.
I think the best way I have found of defining mental illness is speaking about some of the symptoms
Yes.
that will tell you that something is not right. You've been a very jovial person and suddenly you are not relating, we're isolating because things are not going the way you have a certain plan. We talked about having a vision about yourself.
Yes.
I dreamed about becoming this and I dreamed about this becoming this. All my life I wanted to become a cardiologist. Where it came
Mm-hmm.
from, I don't know. But I had a dream about me becoming this, and then here I am, I get married and things are not working.
Yeah.
You lose hope,
Mm-hmm.
you start losing, poor self-esteem. You start seeing yourself as an ugly person, and people are saying stuff around you, and you start believing lies. You are never good for anything. You can never become anything, and you still believing that and practicing it.
Okay.
Yes, you start practicing that. You don't want to eat, or sometimes you're overeating.
Yeah.
You don't enjoy, your marital relationship with your spouse anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There is a separation, you are drifting apart. You love your children, but suddenly you cannot stomach them.
Mm.
You are slapping your children left, right, center. You have developed a sense of fear. Everything, you have a phobia about death, about failure, about being hated by people. You see everybody say, anytime something you see it around you, you become oversensitive. Even somebody says something with good intentions, you start translating, everybody hates you.
Mm.
Isolating yourself.
Yeah.
You lose faith in yourself. You lose faith in God as well. You become a very angry person, almost like becoming untouchable. Just a small word will get you provoked very easily. You find
Mm-hmm.
yourself agitated, and you find yourself drifting even away from yourself. By the way, you drift away from yourself because all the things I used to love, I would stop doing them, and I would start excusing myself. I would get, you get home, you change into your pajamas on Friday evening, you get out of them on Monday morning.
Mm.
You used to go for fellowships, you are no longer interested in that. And most of all is because you are afraid of what people are going to say if they find out that you are depressed. So we are hiding.
Yeah.
And then we are surrounded by people who are looking for everything bad about you. And they start reading you. The stigma, the shame that goes with it. Nobody wants to be depressed, but it happens even for me as a psychologist. I have to watch out myself. I have to keep in touch with a counselor somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not whole. You are not whole. The doctors, in the psych unit, we had all kinds of people, doctors, nurses, psychologists like me would be there. So none of us is exempted. And I also want to say, my greatest passion at the moment is unmasking mental illness,
Mm.
removing the mystery about mental illness and saying any one of us is a candidate. It will take you just a twinkling of an eye like that, and you find yourself lying on that bed.
Wow.
Society needs to change our attitude towards them, because you know what, and then just before I forget about our children, you
Mm.
have a child who is living with a lot of abuse around them, verbal abuse between parents, or they are being slapped or they are being blamed for everything.
Yeah.
The parents are very agitated. This child starts throwing temper tantrums, and I've talked about temper tantrums in here. Children as young as 2 years, they are soaking. I saw my children soaking what was going on in my own life.
Yeah.
They want to be protective, but you're pushing them, because when you're angry, they are also a nuisance. And so from a very early age, we are having our children mentally affected,
Yeah.
but we are not even thinking about it, because you see them as, what, as a child of 2, 3, 4 years, 7 years,
Yeah.
what are they depressed about? Are we not having children who are committing suicide at 9, 10? Bullying at school. They are bullied at home, they are bullied at school, the world is bullying them. So we need to be very sensitive that depression, feeling disoriented, feeling very insecure, feeling uncertain, it goes across the board. It doesn't matter whether I'm a preacher, a therapist, a nurse, a doctor, any of us can be affected, and it goes across the board. We need to stop denying and thinking about it. I grew up where people would say that a certain clan, they are always there, the ones who have lunatics around them.
Mm.
If you are mad, they ask you, do you belong to that clan? Do you belong to that family? It doesn't have any genetics in it. And again, if you sympathize with me when I tell you that I have diabetes,
Yeah.
mental illness and diabetes are both illnesses. Cancer and mental illnesses are both illnesses, but we'll go out of our way when we know that somebody is dealing with cancer. And the worst cancer is this one that we don't even know. But I'm not saying cancer is good. I have had it in my family. It is nerve-wracking. But there is a cancer that is under our skin. We don't even talk about it. We are not acknowledging it, and it is harvesting our children, our spouses, every one of us. That is the cancer I'm asking as a society. Please pay attention. Any of us can be a candidate for that. And we are still living in denial.
Mm. I think maybe what stumps most of us is really understanding what is the threshold, because like you said, just in life in general, you're going to feel down one day. You're going to feel like all the things that you listed. I've lost my faith in God. I'm isolating myself. Something has happened. All these things. But I think with most of us, we're not sure at what point are you crossing from just regular life to something that's more pervasive and is now in this area of mental illness. So for I think for us, like for me, I didn't know it's mental illness until I spoke to you yesterday, because I just said that's something that I went through that season, and somehow because of friends and people who I spoke to, people who came to my who had phone calls and said, "Where have you been? How come you're not coming to people's birthday parties? How come I haven't seen you in church?" So they asked those questions, and somehow I had to now defend myself or do something different. At least they know what it was I was going through. So I think it's that line. I don't know
Yeah.
what you think. Defining it for each one of us. I think someone here was saying how, talking about coping mechanisms and how people are different. Yeah, for me, something may be a Goliath in my life, and to you, you're saying that's nothing. You know, that's something I've gone through 3 times, 4 times, and I've overcome it. It's not a big deal. But for me, that's something that's putting me in the hospital because I took a bunch of pills and I tried to kill myself.
And that is why I'm saying that we need to talk about it more and more, because you said something very, very correct, that your coping skills, we may be dealing with the death of a person in the same family, but you'll notice that two brothers are mourning a mother, or two sisters are mourning a mother or a father very differently. One is coping and moving on with life. Another one is stuck for 2 years.
Yeah.
But the general rule for me is, whether it is anger or a sense of hopelessness and whatever is attacking you constantly. If anything goes on in your life, that anger, that sense of hopelessness, isolating yourself, anything for more than 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
check yourself out.
Okay.
Start asking yourself questions. What exactly is going on? And
Yeah.
again, it may be even 10 days, another 2 months you go, and then the same cycle happens.
Yeah.
It can be a cycle. Ask yourself, what do I need to do? The coping skills, we need to realize that we are all very unique. And
Mm-hmm.
so my loss and your loss are going to be the same, but our coping skills are very different. How
Yeah.
about the resources, the support system around you? Perhaps you can talk to your sister or to your brother or your cousin. I don't have any of that. Or if I have them, we have broken relationships. So you cannot tell me that because I lost a job and you lost a job. You are talking to your sister. They are helping you feed your family. I have them, but they are not interested.
Yeah.
Nobody is asking questions. So this may be a similar situation, but the resources, the support system is very different. So give credit. Let's give everybody, look at everybody very individually.
Yeah.
The strength, and again, the past trauma also dictates how you deal with the current trauma. What was your family of origin? How did you deal with issues? That is now sneaking into our lives today as adults, where when there was a death in the family or something, we were taught to bury those things. We don't even talk about them.
Yeah.
There is incest in the family. We cover the victimizer. We cover the ones who are abusing
Mm-hmm.
because we want to cover the name of the family. Small things like that. The way we did things in our family of origin,
Mm-hmm.
sneak in us and control the way we deal with our current issues. And
Yeah.
so we need help to be able to say, yeah, we dealt with it that way as a family of origin, but it doesn't mean that was the right thing. Many of us are dealing with sexual abuse from the past. We never talked about it. We never dealt with it. There was a death. There was a miscarriage somewhere. I had one. I never talked about it until over 30 years.
Oh my God.
Because at that time, the unborn baby had a name in Kikuyu that you don't even want to talk about. You are blamed for miscarrying. So and that is just one sample. There are
Yeah.
many things that we were blamed for. Why can't you do as well as your brother? Here I am going to Alliance and my brother is struggling with CPE. And so
Mm-hmm.
if parents are not careful, again, the comparing of our children can also become very detrimental. Don't compare anybody with the other person.
Yeah.
Even as a wife, don't compare your husband with another husband somewhere or compare your wife with another wife somewhere, because these are two different entities. Your marriage is not the same with another person. The person you're dealing with is very different. The circumstances around you, the environment dictates what happens. You're not there.
Yeah.
And so all I'm asking is that, can we be sensitive to one another? Can we be able to, if you can identify with somebody, don't shy from telling them, I've been abused. I
Yeah.
know what it feels like. Stop covering up and looking like you've always been where you are today.
Mm-hmm.
If you are healed, offer somebody the steps into
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah.
Use your own, your own past to heal other people, to encourage other people.
For sure.
Some people don't like us talking about this because, especially as a therapist, we are told don't talk about it. But I learned the hard way working in the psych unit that our stories are healers.
Mm.
Our stories encourage other people to stop feeling like they're the worst of humanity.
Yeah.
You give them a face. And that's why I always say, I'll give divorce a face. Do I like it? It hurts.
Yeah.
I'll give I'll give depression a face so that whoever is in that valley can look at Penny and say, if she got out of it,
Yeah.
let me talk to her and find out how did you do it? How did you process? Talk to somebody. And
Yeah.
then before I forget, I want to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Can you be the person you are looking for? Let us live by example.
Yeah.
If I want somebody to love on me and to be understanding, show that by example. Let us be examples of healthier living. You are a keep fit person.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I see you.
Yeah.
So you tell us by example. You shared with me where you are before you started keeping
Yes.
fit.
Yes.
Can I share that as you keep
Yeah.
fit in your body, I learned to keep fit in my mind. Do I struggle with depression? Yes, I do,
Mm-hmm.
because I still have issues. But now I'm able to tell somebody, yes, if you're angry, be angry, but deal with it. Find a way of talking about it.
Yeah.
Find a confidential friend.
Wow, that is a lot. But let me see, because I've been thinking about, I'm skipping some questions, but one of the things that you've talked about is equalizing physical health to mental health. And I think you've kind of brushed on it. I'm not going to ask it as a question, but I'm just saying that people need to know that just as the way you go to the hospital because your blood pressure is high because of diabetes, you should also, with all the things that Dr. Penny spoke about in terms of her list of things that maybe could be mental illness or maybe could be something, I hate that word, mental illness, but you're going through depression, you're feeling, it's 2 weeks, in the same way, if you have a temperature, you're coughing and you go to Med Express, that's the same way you should go see a therapist because of mental issues or mental illness. Okay,
I
so
like what
I'm going
you
to
just, okay.
okay,
I
go
like
ahead.
what you have just said about going to
Mhm.
the doctor because you have a cough. And
Yeah,
that way you preempt it. And in the same
yeah.
token, if you learn to bring out these issues before they harden and
Mhm.
become permanent in your life, I hoarded, I would never talk about it. So
Mm.
even by that time, and I almost lost my hand, by the way, because I felt 3 years ago, ignored it and dealt with other things until it started going, numb. It is by God's grace that the doctor was able to bring it back into where it is
Oh my
today. And
God.
that for me is a new lesson that the more you hide away from the reality, the longer it is taking you to get out where you need to go. So some of these things, even in mental issues, if
Yeah.
we dealt them slowly by slowly, instead of bottling them up and suppressing them, and
Mhm.
don't listen to people telling you that just be bold and move on.
Yeah.
If you have passed or if you have staph infection, it doesn't go just because you talk about it or because you thought about it and left it. You
Yeah.
need antibiotics. Get some antibiotics for your mind.
Mhm.
Get some bacteria out of your mind by being proactive.
Yes.
That way we can eliminate some of the things that are going on.
Yeah.
Just like if we have disagreements in the family, the best thing that happens is when two people are able to talk about it. You hurt me, let's talk about it so that you don't repeat it and you help yourself for tomorrow. The
Yeah.
same thing goes with mental issues.
For sure. So I know you have authored a book. So I wanted to make sure that I mention it, and I think it's a good place to mention it because you just spoke about grief and bereavement, and I know that there's some people who are dealing with it presently.
Yes.
But the book, from what I can tell from Amazon, because she told me yesterday she has this book, and I could have ordered it and read it before tonight. But it's saying it's a powerful and practical tool for those who walk with the terminally ill, the dying, and those who are left behind to mourn and grieve their loved ones. True truth. But I know yesterday you also spoke about that book can be for anyone who is mourning a death of something in their life. Can you expound on that?
Yeah, the title of the book is Healing Hope for Your Grief and Bereavement.
Yeah.
And yeah, somebody might think, well, I have not lost anybody, and even if I did, it was years ago. But here is the thing: when you go through divorce, you don't get a condolence card from anybody. When your child goes on drugs, instead of comforting you, we blame you. That is grief. You need somebody to tell you that, you know what, it happens. This child, it's not the end of your child. It's not the end of your marriage. I mean, it's not the end of your life because you've gone through this. And so in that book, I share my own struggles with life and the things I have lost from the best to the worst and the worst to the best.
Yeah.
I can now say that, yes, has it been easy coming to the US and starting my life afresh? Those of you who have moved out of our motherland to where you are today, you know what it takes. But
Mm-hmm.
I can say there is hope. And so the book is talking about you have mental illness, you have terminal illness, and nobody understands. And we think that, okay, you have been laid off your work, you had a mortgage, you lose your job, it trickles down into a foreclosure, the family home, you've lost your investment. Nobody is talking about that because you're not even bold enough to say, I have gone through a foreclosure myself and I know it stinks, it hurts,
Yeah.
because that's my money, that's my home. But you don't talk about that. You are grieving under your skin because here I am at my age. I'm not going to go back into the market and buy another house. But it hurts. I was grieving a home that had become my family, refuge, where the grandchildren would gather. Yes, I'll say it. Because somebody somewhere is going through the same thing and you think it is the end of the world.
Yeah.
Things come and go. And the reason we need to face it and encourage one another is because it happened to Penny, it has happened to John and James, it will happen to somebody else tomorrow. Where do we go when these things happen? Talk to somebody. Remember, you are not alone. The Bible says the problems you are facing today are not unique to you. They happen to other people. And that is not the end of it. We talked about Isaiah 43:18 and 19. God is able to do a new thing for you. Make a way where there is no way. He has done it for me. He's still doing it. I'm still looking for that new way. I'm still dreaming, by the way. I'm still schooling. I'm still learning something because God has given me a second chance. I've faced death several times. I know life is not over. I have a legacy. You have a legacy. Don't allow yourself to go down with the best of you. Let me finish by saying that the graveyard is the richest place. Why? A lot of dreams are buried there.
Yeah.
A lot of creations are buried there. Because you scared somebody, you stopped somebody from sharing what they had because you thought they were not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of inventions are down there. Somebody had a story that would have changed the life of other people, but you told them you're good for nothing. They died with it. What good is it? There are many tonight who are still holding onto their dreams, onto their stories that have the potential to change our families today. But we are not allowing people to talk. We are not listening to people. Our children have ideas, but we are telling them, what can you teach me? At my age, I learn from my grandchildren. Yes.
I love that. I love that. So in closing, because I know we're already at an hour and a half, I think.
Wow.
What? Yeah. So let's. You just said you're still dreaming. What are those dreams that you have? I'm curious right now. In your
I'm a motivational speaker. I have won several awards as a keynote speaker. Guess what? I can, with God's help, I am bettering myself. I want to better myself so that as I give the messages I have, they will come out in a way that will impact lives.
Yeah.
Even as a counselor, I have to keep on bringing myself to, keeping myself current. I cannot counsel with what I used 30 years ago. I am on the internet, I'm learning different things here and there. I'm learning to interact with younger people because that is our future. I want to be able to impact the people who will live after I am gone. But I always say I'm a mantle carrier.
Yes.
And I say that with a lot of humility, but I cannot share things that are not relevant. So I have to keep upgrading myself over and over and over to speak the language of love in a world where sometimes we have to be patient with people for them to listen to us. So I have to keep on upgrading myself and bettering myself, advancing myself, both in the spirit, taking care of my health as well. I've not been very good at that, but I'm learning. If I want to live a little longer, I have to do things differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So where can people find you?
I have my own private practice and angel counseling services. Angel counseling services. I live in Birmingham, Alabama, but what I have done is I have trained myself to as a telehealth counselor. In other words, I can counsel people on the phone. I can counsel virtually. Because I've learned that part of the reason why people don't want to come out for counseling is because sometimes it is lack of time or family commitments, so where one can call me and we can arrange a time and we can organize so that I can cancel somebody. You know, I'm in Alabama, they can be in Washington State, and we still can do it. So I want to be as available as possible.
Okay.
But I am also taking this forum to tell people, please honor counseling because it is life-saving. And I'm not saying this because I'm a counselor, but there are things we are taking very lightly. You can find a lady buying a shoe for $300, but if you ask them to go for counseling for $150, they think it is expensive. Those of us who are doing it, we went to school. I said it. I chose to go back to school so that I can do it professionally. I counseled for years even before I went back to school, by the way, all the way from high school. But I got to a point where I said, I want to do it and do it compassionately. I want to do it professionally. I want to be a better help for somebody. We pay for, So when you are told to prioritize and go for counseling, please be willing to pay a cost for it. So I have a website, www.angelcounselingservices.com.
Okay.
www.angelcounselingservices.com. There is a lot of information on my website.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also on Facebook.
I know I was going to ask you this, and someone actually had asked this earlier about life counseling, because you mentioned it and they wanted to know what the definition is. Life coaching. I'm sorry.
Life coaching.
Yeah.
Life coaching is a wide topic, because sometimes we work, and I did this again later in life, but sometimes we walk through life just guessing, imagining. But life coaching, we encourage people to think, to prioritize,
Yeah.
to make good choices.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to advance yourself, don't just, we help people to make career choices. We help people to, if you're going to get married, are you just going to pick anybody who comes your way just because they have laughed at you and we look at them from the outside? But do you have a picture of what kind of a husband or a man or a wife do you want? What about when you get married?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a plan for the kind of family you want? Life coaching. What kind of a career, what kind of a family do you want?
Yeah.
How do you cope with challenges when they come your way? So it's a general way of looking at life, not just walking blindly. I got married, so here I am, I have children, I have a husband, I have a wife. Think about it ahead of us. And I say this because I did mine by default. I
Yeah.
didn't think about planning for these things ahead of time. How many children do you want to have when you get married? I ask those questions in premarital counseling. It sounds weird, but have some plan.
Have a vision.
Anything you do without a plan, it has a potential for failing, whether it is finances, whether it is when you get married, you want just to continue renting, or will you ever think of buying a home? Why do you need to buy a home? Where are you investing?
Yeah.
Why would you, I mean, why are you buying land in Kenya or a house in Kenya? And why are you buying one here? All those kind of things, so that we are not walking in life haphazardly. We
Yeah.
are not guessing. And again, this will help you to stop comparing yourself with other people. We teach you to be you by teaching you to discover yourself first,
So that's
your
through
talents and yeah,
that's still under the umbrella of Angel Counseling Services.
yes.
Okay. All right. So I hope she was able to answer that question. For those of you who are interested in life coaching versus, counseling or mental health counseling or therapeutic services, there's also that aspect of what she does, which is life coaching. So, Evangelist Caroline Favored, you're saying what? Okay. Faith, please tell us why you chose Dr. Penny today. God chose us to come together. It was God ordained. But also, let me say this. So as I had said at the beginning, I had watched her on an interview that she did with Prudential's show with George Bogwa. And during that time, there was a lot of domestic violence issues within the diaspora. And so I was seeing a lot of interviews happening that were kind of informal type of interviews. And we were having people from the diaspora community speaking to this issue, but they were not speaking to it from a place of academic knowledge, a place of a place of even sound spiritual knowledge. And so when she came and she was interviewed and she spoke about that topic, for me, I just felt like, wow, what a breath of fresh air. And where has she been? Because, we were really missing that voice within the diaspora, even though she was telling me that she's been doing this for so long, for years and years, and people were kind of just ignoring her. But then when these issues, substance abuse issues, mental health issues, and domestic violence issues started to impact suicide, they started to impact our community, then we needed to have that clarion voice that would speak not only from even academically, but also speak from life experience, sound life experience, and how they were able to move from hopelessness to hope in all these issues. I feel like she's lived 5 lives. I was telling her, it's like she's lived 5 lives, and so she has so much information, and for sure we're going to have her back. So I want to close, Dr. Penny, unless you feel that there's anything that you did not mention that we may not have, because I'm sure we'll come back, because there was someone asking about the opioid epidemic and substance abuse. But if we start going into that, we'll never end. So we may need to do that and table it for another day.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Faith, for giving me this chance to talk to my people. And I pray that if nothing else, I pray that somebody somewhere is encouraged tonight, because if there is nothing as bad as feeling like you're walking alone, like you're the only person who is suffering from this, I hope I've allowed somebody to know that it happens to everybody. Not because of anything you have done or not done, it happens to everybody. Before I forget, I want to say that I also travel locally and globally. Now I'm traveling globally to speak in conferences as a keynote speaker, and I allow me to brag a little bit. I've done it, and it has been noticed, and I'm building it, because I believe if Oprah can do it, I can do it.
Yes.
I'll say it again, because you know what? We are being to speak life into ourselves. If Oprah can do it, I will do it, because God has given me that gift. And
Yes.
most of all, I don't do it just for the sake of doing it, but I want to be able to encourage somebody. I'm also a preacher, so I go to preach in churches, and I usually pray that I can be allowed to use the pulpit to speak about some of these things that have been taboo for so long.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about them, but they are sneaking in and killing us often. And
Yeah.
so I am available. If somebody would call me, inbox me, I travel places to speak in churches. I was in Kenya last year, and I found myself all over the place, on the TV, on the radio, in churches.
Yeah.
And I was so blessed to see that our people are also opening up to talking about the challenges of mental illness, the issues of parenting, the things that we are facing out here. When you call your enemy by his name or her name, they know they have to flee. And that is what we are doing. We are calling these enemies. We've had a big pink elephant in our lives. That pink elephant is drugs, domestic violence, suicide, homicide. All these things are around us. Our children are being bullied, and we are also raising a generation that are born here while we were born out there. We need a balance. We need to talk to them. We need to communicate. We need to go back to the drawing board and find, what do we need to put off? What do we need to change? What do we need to do differently, so that life can be better for us? And yeah, I think I've said a lot. And yeah, the issues of alcoholism and drugs, we need a forum specifically for that. The opioids, the vaping,
Yeah.
there's a lot that is going on there, but I'm glad people are finding the need for us to talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was wondering how to close out all day after speaking to Dr. Penny last night. Um, and this is what I'll say. What she affirmed to me is that we are all born with a burning desire to be, to do, and to impact something greater. But sometimes life offers you a series of experiences, and some are not so positive. And so we lose ourselves and we give up on our dreams and our aspirations, right? And it's hard to live knowing that we have to defer our dreams sometimes. And sometimes it's something complex, you know, like she's talked about some complex things like divorce, right? That may be that thing that causes you to defer your dreams. But then for you today, maybe you're looking at your life and you're saying, ah man, I came to this foreign land and there are so many barriers and these barriers seem insurmountable. Maybe you're looking at the fact that your credentials are not being considered when you go to a job because they're not being recognized. Maybe you found yourself having to take care of a special needs child and that's not what your expectation was for your life. Maybe in this season you have to take care of an aging mom, yeah, because that's your duty for most of us. Maybe your life partner has become an abuser. Maybe you have to fend for your siblings. There's so many things, experiences in this life that cause you to say, oh my goodness, I'm going to give up on my dreams. But then after talking to Dr. Penny, and I was telling her yesterday, my mom is a professor of oral literature. And so I had to read all these poems and all these books, literary books. And what came to my mind was this poem by Langston Hughes that says, what happens to a dream deferred? So I don't know if you guys are familiar with that dream, that poem. So this is the poem. It says, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or maybe it explodes. So I'm saying this point because I don't want any of you to be those people who your dreams are just sagging and you're carrying them like a heavy load. Your dreams are stinking like rotten meat. You have them in that corner and you don't even want to look at them, but they're stinking. And so you can't but smell them, right? They're shriveled up like a raisin in the sun. And you're saying you can never aspire to do anything. And so you're living vicariously through other people or looking at your life in comparison to other people. That's not what we want for you. We don't want you to be bitter. We don't want you to feel like it's too late. So for you, for her today, really, she's a model for, yes, life happens. Yes, there are all these sets of experiences, but no matter what, be it your age, be it all these things that you put as your limitations, it's never too late. It may take work, it may take responsibility, but it does take rising up above mediocrity. It takes ignoring your haters, right? She talks about your haters or the people who are in your circle who may not be wishing you well. It takes foregoing some wants and material things. But at the end, you are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. So thank you, Dr. Penny W. Njoroge, and thank you to this beautiful and amazing audience. I hope you guys enjoyed this amazing show, and I hope that you continue to tune in to the Beacon of Hope show. We will continue to have many guests, and also if you're interested in me facilitating your story, contact me, and for sure, Dr. Penny will be back.
Thank you. Can I say something before I finish?
Yes.
One of the secrets of moving on is finding a way of forgiving yourself for the mistakes of your past and forgiving other people, letting go of that baggage that is holding you back. I don't want to forget that because that for me was a big one and it took me 6.5 years to let go. Let go. It's not worth it. You cannot change your past, but you can change the future. So
Yes.
let go of your past and forgive yourself and forgive other people because whether they say no or I mean, they are sorry or not,
Yeah.
what you owe to yourself is forgiving them so that you can offload yourself, let go of the baggage you are carrying so
Yes.
that you can travel. Like there's a saying, you cannot receive today's blessings
Mm.
as long as you're holding yesterday's junk. You
Wow.
cannot receive today's blessings as long as you're still holding on to yesterday's junk. Because you come to God like this, where does He put new blessings? Come to God like this, open hands, receive, because God wants to bless you.
Amen.
And I want to finish with some words that says,
Yes.
I don't know what the future holds, but I know who is holding my future.
Amen.
I don't know what your future holds, but I know for sure who is holding your future. And
Amen.
because he lives, we can face tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because he lives, because I know he holds tomorrow. Sorry, I got confused a bit. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know he holds the future, and life is worth a living just because he lives.
Amen.
And life is worth a living just because he lives. Amen. He lives.
He
And so I
lives.
will live
Yes.
and tell us the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Thank you.
Amen. And all things work together for good. That's something
Amen.
that I believe, and looking at your life experience, it all works together for your good. No matter
Thank you,
what, no
Faith.
matter the devil trying to take you out, it all works together for your good.
Amen.
Amen. So God bless you all. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
tuning in. I will end this live stream. Still share, share, share. And give us your feedback, ask questions even under the comments, and I'm sure Reverend Dr. Penny will make sure that she answers the questions on comments. So God bless you all and have a good night.
Thank you, Faith. God bless you too.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Amen. Let me
Okay.
stop this live stream.